He was already planning the massive retaliation that the Great Council Chamber of Nexus Prime had never been so quiet. Hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy sat in stunned silence, staring at the tactical displays that showed 3 disabled Corinth heavy cruisers floating helplessly in the Kepler system. The humans had done the impossible. They had turned what should have been their destruction into a complete victory. Commander Park So-jin stood calmly on the central platform, her simple black uniform unchanged, despite witnessing a battle that had rewritten the rules of galactic warfare. She waited patiently as the alien delegates processed what they had just seen. The silence was finally broken by Nixara of the Zephon Confederation. Her 4 arms trembled slightly as she spoke, her red eyes no longer glowing with confident fire. "Explain," she said in a voice that was barely above a whisper. "Explain how your primitive ships defeated the most advanced vessels in the Corinth fleet." Park So-jin clasped her hands behind her back and answered in the same calm tone she had maintained throughout the day. Humanity learned long ago that survival depends not on having the strongest weapons, but on having the most adaptable ones. Our ships are designed to learn and evolve during combat. "That is impossible," declared a tall alien with crystalline skin that reflected the chamber's lights. "No technology can adapt that quickly. It takes years to develop countermeasures for new weapon systems." "For most species, yes," Park So-jin agreed. "But humans approach the problem differently. We do not try to build weapons that are stronger than our enemy's defenses. We build weapons that can become whatever they need to be." The ancient scholar from the Mystic Coalition leaned forward in his seat. His species had survived longer than any other in the Council, and he understood the implications better than most. "You are saying that your weapons learn from each encounter," he said slowly. "That every battle teaches them how to be more effective in the next engagement." "Precisely," Park So-jin replied. "Every shot fired, every defense encountered, every tactical maneuver observed becomes data that improves our capabilities. We do not just fight our enemies, we study them." The implications sent waves of fear through the assembled aliens. If human weapons could adapt and improve with each battle, then no defense would remain effective for long. Traditional military doctrine relied on the assumption that enemy capabilities remained relatively constant. Humans had made that assumption obsolete. "But your ships," protested another delegate. "They looked so primitive. Your engines, your weapons, your hull designs. Everything suggested inferior technology." Park So-jin smiled slightly. "Appearances can be deceiving. We learned long ago that enemies who underestimate you are enemies who make mistakes. Our ships appear primitive because we want them to appear primitive." "You deliberately made your technology look inferior?" asked Nixara. "We made our technology actually inferior in some ways," Park So-jin corrected. "Then we made it adaptable enough to overcome that inferiority when necessary. A ship that looks weak but can become strong is more valuable than a ship that simply looks strong." The philosophical implications of this approach were staggering. Most alien civilizations focused on building the most advanced technology possible and displaying their strength to deter potential enemies. Humans had taken the opposite approach, hiding their capabilities until the moment they were needed. Veltar had been listening to this exchange with growing rage. His silver skin had turned almost white with fury as he realized how completely his people had been outmaneuvered. "You are liars and deceivers," he snarled. "You came here pretending to be a peaceful species seeking membership in our council. Instead, you were planning to humiliate us from the beginning." "We came here hoping to join the galactic community as equals," Park So-jin replied without losing her composure. "You demanded a demonstration of our capabilities. We provided exactly what you asked for. You tricked us," Veltar shouted. "You made us think you were weak so we would attack you." "We gave you every opportunity to choose diplomacy over violence," Park So-jin said firmly. "You chose to mock our peaceful intentions. You chose to demand a military demonstration. You chose to treat this as entertainment rather than a serious diplomatic encounter." The truth of her words was undeniable. The entire council had watched the Corinth representatives laugh at human offers of friendship and demand proof of military capability. They had treated the coming battle as a joke rather than a serious test. "The question now," continued Park So-jin, "is what happens next. Humanity still desires peaceful relations with all galactic civilizations, but we will not be treated as inferior or primitive." An elder from the Peaceful Harmony Collective spoke up. What you have shown us today changes everything. If your patrol fleet can defeat our best military vessels so easily, what does your actual military look like? Park Seo-jin paused before answering, choosing her words carefully. What you witnessed today was conducted by our diplomatic patrol fleet using training exercises and demonstration protocols. Our actual military operates under different rules entirely. The chamber fell silent again as aliens tried to process this information. If the demonstration had been conducted by a diplomatic patrol using training exercises, the implications were terrifying. What could humanity's real military accomplish? This is a threat, Veltar declared, his voice shaking with rage. You are threatening the entire galactic community with your hidden weapons. We are not threatening anyone, Park Seo-jin replied calmly. We are simply answering the questions you asked. You wanted to know what human military capability looked like. Now you know. No, Veltar said, standing up from his seat. What we know is that humanity is too dangerous to be allowed to continue unchecked. The Corinth Empire will not tolerate this challenge to galactic order. Other aliens began to speak up, trying to prevent the escalation that everyone could see coming. But Veltar was beyond reason, his pride wounded too deeply for rational thought. The Corinth Empire formally rejects humanity's application to join this council, he announced. Furthermore, we declare the human species to be a threat to galactic security. We will return with our full battle fleet to demonstrate proper respect for established civilization. The threat hung in the air like a storm cloud. Park Seo-jin listened to the declaration without changing expression, but something cold flickered in her eyes. That is your choice to make, she said quietly, but perhaps you should consider the lessons of today before committing to a course of action you may regret. The only lesson we learned today is that humans are treacherous liars who hide their true strength. Veltar snarled. When we return, we will bring enough ships to turn your entire planet to ash. The chamber erupted in shocked voices as aliens tried to speak over each other. Some demanded that Veltar reconsider. Others asked what authority he had to make such declarations. A few began calculating how quickly they could get their own fleets as far from human space as possible. Through it all, Park Seo-jin stood quietly on the platform, waiting for the noise to die down. When it finally did, she spoke into the silence with a voice that carried clearly to every corner of the chamber. Humanity came here in peace, she said. We offered friendship, cooperation, and the sharing of knowledge for the benefit of all species. You have chosen to respond with threats of genocide. You are not the victims here, Veltar protested. You are the ones who deceived us. We responded to your demands exactly as requested, Park Seo-jin replied. You asked for a demonstration of military capability. You received one. The fact that the demonstration exceeded your expectations is not our fault. She paused, looking around the chamber at the faces of aliens who were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. However, she continued, if the Corinth Empire chooses to pursue military action against humanity, they should understand that such action will not be considered a diplomatic demonstration. It will be considered an act of war. The words fell into the chamber like drops of acid, burning away any remaining illusions about human weakness or naivety. The species that had seemed so eager to join galactic civilization was now calmly discussing the prospect of interstellar war. You dare threaten us? Veltar demanded. I am not threatening anyone, Park Seo-jin replied. I am simply explaining the consequences of the actions you have chosen to take. Humanity did not seek this conflict, but if conflict is forced upon us, we will respond appropriately. With that, she turned and walked calmly from the platform, leaving behind a chamber full of aliens, who were finally beginning to understand that everything they thought they knew about the balance of galactic power had just changed forever. Veltar watched her go with rage burning in his silver eyes. He was already planning the massive military response that would restore Corinth honor and show these upstart humans their proper place in the galaxy. He had no idea that he was about to discover the difference between a diplomatic demonstration and the full fury of human warfare. The battle in the Kepler system had transformed from a one-sided slaughter into something none of the alien observers could understand. Where moments before the human fleet had been dying ship by ship, now they moved with deadly purpose through the asteroid field. Commander Seo Young-min of the Jeonju's Wrath had been waiting for this moment throughout the entire battle. Her ship had taken several hits and was trailing atmosphere from damaged sections. But like all human vessels, it was far from helpless. The apparent damage was mostly superficial, designed to make the aliens overconfident. "All systems show green," reported her engineering officer. "The hull breaches were in non-critical sections as planned." "Excellent," CO Youngman replied. "Target the second cruiser. It's time to show them what our fusion drives can really do." The human ships had been moving cautiously through the asteroid field, using their engines at what appeared to be maximum capacity, just to avoid collisions. The aliens had seen this as evidence of primitive technology struggling to keep up with the demands of real space combat. They were wrong. The fusion drives on human ships were not primitive. They were deliberately restrained. Each engine was capable of producing far more power than the aliens' sensors could detect. But that power was hidden behind careful engineering and deliberate misdirection. Now, as the tide of battle turned, the human ships began to reveal their true capabilities. The Jianju's Wrath suddenly accelerated through the asteroid field at a speed that should have been impossible. Its engines burned with blue fire that grew brighter and hotter, until it looked like a miniature star racing through space. The ship moved between floating rocks with precision that defied physics, making turns that should have torn its hull apart. "Impossible," shouted the captain of the second Corinth cruiser as he watched the human ship approach. "No vessel that size should be able to maneuver like that." But impossible or not, the Jianju's Wrath was coming straight at him, and its weapons were charging for another adapted shot. The Corinth captain ordered evasive maneuvers, but his massive cruiser was designed for long-range battles in open space. Among the asteroids, its size became a disadvantage. The human ship danced around his vessel like a fighter circling a lumbering giant. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "we cannot get a clean shot. They are staying in our blind spots." "Then use the asteroids," the captain ordered. "Fire at the rocks. Destroy their cover." Plasma beams lanced out to strike nearby asteroids, turning solid rock into expanding clouds of superheated gas. But the human ship seemed to anticipate every shot, always moving to where the aliens could not target it effectively. Meanwhile, other human vessels were revealing their own hidden capabilities. The weapons that had seemed so primitive were transforming before alien eyes. Gun barrels extended and reconfigured themselves. Projectile types changed mid-battle, as the ship's manufacturing systems produced new ammunition designed to counter specific threats. Captain Li, Jinwoo of the Busan's Resolve, watched his tactical display, as the human fleet coordinated its attacks with machine-like precision. Every ship knew exactly where every other ship was and what it was doing. Their movements looked chaotic to outside observers, but were actually perfectly orchestrated. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "Admiral Kim is requesting status on data collection. Tell the Admiral we have complete analysis of Corinth shield systems, weapons arrays, and maneuvering capabilities." Li Jinwoo replied, "We are ready to proceed to Phase 3. Phase 3 was the endgame, the moment when the human fleet would stop pretending to be inferior and show the galaxy what their technology could really accomplish." On Nexus Prime, the alien delegates watched in growing horror as their understanding of the battle completely reversed. What had seemed like an easy victory for advanced civilization over primitive upstarts was becoming a masterclass in how to turn apparent weakness into devastating strength. "They planned this entire sequence," whispered the ancient scholar who had first suspected the humans' true purpose. "Every move, every apparent mistake, every moment of seeming defeat. It was all calculated, but how?" asked a younger alien. "How could they know our technology well enough to counter it so perfectly?" "Because they have been watching us," the scholar replied. "Studying us, learning everything about our strengths and weaknesses while we ignored them as beneath our notice." The truth was even more disturbing than the scholar imagined. Humanity had not just been watching the alien races. They had been preparing for this moment for decades, building ships and weapons specifically designed to counter technologies they had never officially encountered. Back in the battle, Commander Seo Young-min lined up her shot on the second Corinth cruiser. Her weapons officer had loaded specialized ammunition that the aliens had never seen before, projectiles that could phase shift through solid matter and explode only when they reached specific target. "Coordinates, fire," she ordered. The projectile left her ship's weapon and immediately vanished from all sensors. The aliens searched frantically for the incoming threat but could find nothing. Their defensive systems tried to lock onto a target that no longer existed in normal space. The projectile reappeared inside the Corinth cruiser's command center and detonated with precisely controlled force. The explosion was not meant to destroy the ship, but to disable its command systems and force its surrender. Captain Zalketh felt his cruiser shudder as control systems throughout his ship went offline. Emergency lights bathed his bridge in red as backup systems struggled to maintain basic functions. "Damage report," he shouted. "Command and control systems are offline," his officer replied in a shaking voice. "Weapons are offline. Engines are offline. Life support is functioning, but we have no navigation or communication." The human ship had not destroyed them. It had captured them without boarding a single alien crew member. The precision required for such an attack was beyond anything the aliens thought possible. The third and final Corinth cruiser turned to flee, its captain finally understanding that this battle was beyond his ability to win. But Captain Choi Min-ho of the Olsen's Fury had been assigned to prevent any alien ship from escaping with tactical data about human capabilities. "Pursuit course," he ordered. "Minimum force necessary to disable their engines." The Olsen's Fury accelerated after the fleeing cruiser with speed that made the earlier demonstrations look slow. Its engines produced thrust that bent space around the ship, allowing it to catch up with the much larger alien vessel in seconds. A single shot from an adapted weapon struck the cruiser's engine section with surgical precision. The alien ship's faster-than-light drive shut down instantly, stranding it in the asteroid field with its two disabled companions. Across the galaxy, aliens watched their screens in stunned silence as three of the most advanced ships in known space sat helpless before a human fleet that had appeared primitive just hours earlier. Admiral Kim, Taeho opened a communication channel to all observers. His voice remained calm and professional, as if disabling an entire alien squadron was routine. "Demonstration completed successfully," he announced. "No alien crew members were harmed during this exercise. Their ships will be returned undamaged once our diplomatic discussions are concluded." The implications of his words were terrifying. The humans had not just defeated the alien ships, they had captured them intact while barely taking any real damage themselves. They had turned what should have been humanity's destruction into a complete reversal of galactic power dynamics. Commander Park So-jin addressed the council chamber where shocked aliens sat in complete silence. "As you have observed, humanity brings unique perspectives to the challenges of galactic civilization. Our adaptive technologies and tactical approaches could benefit all member species." Veltar, who had been watching the battle from Nexus Prime, stood with his fists clenched in rage. His pride, his entire worldview, had been shattered by primitive humans who fought with weapons that seemed to rewrite the laws of physics as they flew. "This is impossible," he shouted. "Your species should not possess such technology. You are primitives who only recently learned to leave your own planet." "We are a young species," Park So-jin agreed. "But youth can be an advantage. We approach problems without the assumption that current solutions are the only possible ones." "You have humiliated the Corinth Empire," Veltar snarled. "This will not stand. We will return with our full battle fleet and show you the true meaning of advanced warfare." Other aliens in the chamber tried to speak, to find some way to prevent the escalation that Veltar was demanding. But the Corinth representative was beyond reason. His pride wounded too deeply for diplomacy. "Your application to join this council is rejected," he declared, speaking as if he had the authority to make such decisions alone. "The Corinth Empire will demonstrate proper respect for established galactic order." Park So-jin nodded politely. "That is your choice. However, I should mention that what you witnessed today was conducted by our diplomatic patrol fleet, using training exercises and non-lethal demonstrations." The words fell into the chamber like stones into still water, creating ripples of fear that spread through every alien present. If this had been a training exercise, what did humanity's actual military look like? But Veltar was too angry to listen to warnings. Lieutenant Nam Ji-hai watched her tactical display with careful eyes as the human fleet appeared to crumble around her. The Gwangju's hammer had taken damage to its outer hull, but all critical systems remained online. Like the other human ships, her vessel was performing exactly as planned. "Enemy Cruiser 2 is moving to finish off the Inchin's blade," reported her sensor officer. "Should we intercede?" "Negative," Nam Ji-hai replied. "Maintain current pattern. Continue data collection." To any observer, the human response looked like a fighting retreat. Ships that could still move were pulling back behind asteroids, trying to protect their damaged companions. The wounded vessels drifted helplessly, seemingly unable to defend themselves. But the truth was very different. Every time an alien weapon fired, human sensors recorded the energy signature, the particle stream composition, and the power distribution patterns. When alien shields absorbed human projectiles, the computers analyzed the defense matrix and cataloged its weaknesses. Each exchange taught the human fleet more about their opponents. Captain Choi Min-ho of the Ulsan's Fury had been watching this process with growing excitement. His ship's weapons had been firing the same type of projectiles for the entire battle, but each shot was slightly different. His targeting computer was learning how to penetrate Corinth defenses. "Sir," his weapons officer said quietly, "the analysis is complete. We now know how their shield generators work." "Excellent," Choi Min-ho replied. "Prepare modified ammunition. Type 7 penetrators with adaptive frequency modulation." The weapons officer's eyes widened slightly. Type 7 penetrators were not standard patrol equipment. They were designed to punch through any known defense system by changing their properties during flight. "Sir, those are classified as military-grade weapons. Today they are educational tools," Choi Min-ho said with a thin smile. On the Corinth cruiser, Zalketh was feeling confident about his victory. His 3 ships had taken minimal damage while destroying or crippling most of the human fleet. Only a few enemy vessels remained in fighting condition, and they were clearly trying to retreat. "Pursue the remaining ships," he ordered. "Do not let any escape. We want a complete victory to show these primitives their place." His ships moved forward through the asteroid field, hunting the surviving humans like predators chasing wounded prey. Their plasma cannons recharged for what should be the final barrage of the battle. But something was changing in the way the human ships moved. Where before they had seemed desperate and panicked, now they moved with deliberate purpose. Their formation looked random, but actually placed each ship in the perfect position for what was coming next. The change was subtle at first. The human weapons began to hit their targets more consistently, not just hitting the alien ships, but hitting specific points that caused maximum disruption to their systems. Shield generators overloaded. Power couplings failed. Sensor arrays went offline. "What is happening?" Zalketh demanded as alarms sounded throughout his ship. "Their weapons are becoming more effective." "Unknown, sir," replied his tactical officer. "Our shields are operating normally, but the human projectiles seem to be finding gaps that should not exist." On Nexus Prime, the alien observers were beginning to notice the change as well. The humans who had been losing badly just minutes before were now fighting with increasing effectiveness. Their battered ships were suddenly coordinating attacks with precision that defied their apparent damage. Veltar leaned forward in his seat, studying the tactical displays more carefully. "Something is wrong. How are they improving so rapidly?" "Perhaps their initial poor performance was deliberate," suggested an ancient alien scholar who had been silent until now. "What if they were not fighting to win, but fighting to learn?" The idea sent a chill through the watching aliens. If the humans had been studying their technology while pretending to be defeated, what did that say about their real capabilities? Back in the battle, Captain Choi Min-ho decided it was time for a demonstration. His ship had been hanging back, appearing to nurse critical damage to its engines. In reality, the Ulsan's Fury was perfectly functional and ready to reveal what human technology could actually do. "Target the lead cruiser," he ordered. "Full power to weapons. Show them what adapted ammunition can do." The Ulsan's Fury emerged from behind a large asteroid and fired a single shot. The projectile looked the same as every other human weapon that had been fired in this battle. But this one was different. As it flew through space toward the Corinth cruiser, the projectile began to change. Its outer shell shifted frequency to match the exact opposite of the alien shield harmonics. Its core density increased to penetrate armor that had never been breached. Its guidance system locked onto the one point where all the ship's defensive systems converged. The projectile hit the Corinth cruiser and passed through its shields like they were not there. It punched through the outer armor, penetrated 3 decks, and exploded directly inside the ship's main reactor chamber. For a moment, the massive alien vessel just hung in space, looking undamaged. Then light began to leak from its hull as internal explosions tore through its decks. The ship broke in half and died in a brilliant flash that lit up the entire system. Silence filled the communication channels. Aliens throughout the galaxy stared at their screens in shock. A human ship using primitive projectile weapons had just destroyed a Corinth heavy cruiser with a single shot. "Impossible," whispered Zalketh from his bridge. "That weapon should not exist. Humans do not have that technology, sir," his science officer reported with a shaking voice. "Analysis of the projectile shows it modified itself during flight. It adapted to our specific defenses in real time. The implications hit everyone at once. The humans had not brought primitive weapons to this battle. They had brought adaptive weapons that could learn and evolve to counter any defense. Every shot they had fired before was gathering data for this moment. Admiral Kim Tae-ho chose this moment to open a communication channel to all ships in the system. His voice was calm and professional, as if destroying an advanced alien cruiser was just another day's work. "Attention all vessels," he said. "This concludes the demonstration portion of our encounter. You have now seen a sample of standard human patrol capabilities. We hope it has been educational." The word "standard" echoed through the minds of every alien who heard it. If this was standard capability, what did their actual military look like? Commander Park So-jin, still standing on the platform at Nexus Prime, watched the alien delegates' faces as they processed what they had just witnessed. The laughter and mockery had been replaced by fear and confusion. "As you can see," she said into the stunned silence, "humanity brings unique capabilities to galactic civilization. We believe our adaptive approach to technology and warfare would be valuable to the Galactic Council." Beltar stood up from his seat, his silver skin now pale with shock. You tricked us. Those weapons, those tactics. This was planned from the beginning." "We came here to demonstrate human capabilities," Park So-jin replied. "You requested a battle. We provided one. The fact that you underestimated us is not our fault." The remaining 2 Corinth cruisers in the battle zone began to retreat, their captains no longer confident in their technological superiority. They had seen their most advanced ship destroyed by weapons they could not understand or counter. But Veltar's pride would not let him accept this defeat. His face twisted with rage as he realized that his supposedly superior race had been outmaneuvered by primitives. "This is not over," he declared. "The Corinth Empire will not be humiliated by upstart humans. We will return with our full fleet and show you what real power looks like." Park So-jin nodded politely. "That is your choice to make. But perhaps you should consider what you have learned today before making hasty decisions." "We have learned nothing except that you are treacherous liars who hide their true strength," Veltar snarled. "When we return, we will bring enough ships to turn your entire planet to glass." The threat hung in the air like a storm cloud. Other alien delegates tried to speak, to find some way to prevent what seemed like inevitable war. But Veltar had already made his choice. He stormed out of the council chambers, already planning the military response that would put humanity in its place. Behind him, the other aliens sat in stunned silence, beginning to understand that they had just witnessed something that would change the galaxy forever. The humans had not just won a battle. They had revealed that everything the aliens thought they knew about technological superiority was wrong. The 3 Corinth heavy cruisers moved through space like sharks hunting small fish. Each ship was a masterpiece of alien engineering, covered with armor that could stop planet-killing weapons. Their captain, Zalketh, sat in his command chair and smiled with confidence. "Open a channel to all ships in the system," he ordered. "I want everyone to hear this." The communication system crackled to life. Zalketh's voice reached every human ship and every alien observer watching from far away. "Attention, primitive humans," he said with a voice full of mockery. "You are about to learn why your species should have stayed on your little planet. We are going to show you what real technology can do. Consider this a free education before you die." On the bridge of the Busan's Resolve, Captain Lee Jin-woo listened to the aliens' words without emotion. His crew sat at their stations ready for battle. Everything looked normal, but Lee Jin-woo knew better. His ship was much more than it appeared to be. "Sir," said his weapons officer, "they are charging their plasma cannons. Energy readings are off our charts." "Maintain position," Lee Jin-woo replied calmly. "Wait for their first move." The human fleet had spread out among the asteroids in what looked like a desperate attempt to find cover. Their ships moved carefully between the floating rocks, avoiding collisions by narrow margins. To the aliens watching, it looked like fear. "They are hiding like scared children," laughed Zalketh. "Fire the opening barrage. Show them the power of the Corinth Empire." The three alien cruisers opened fire at the same time. Streams of superheated plasma shot through space, bright enough to blind anyone looking directly at them. The energy beams were designed to cut through any known material like a hot knife through butter. But something unexpected happened. The human ships began to move. They did not fly away from the plasma beams. Instead, they danced through the asteroid field with impossible grace. Ships that should have been too big to fit through narrow gaps slipped between rocks with centimeters to spare. Vessels that should have been too slow to dodge such fast weapons moved like they could see the future. The first plasma barrage missed every human ship. The beams struck asteroids instead, turning solid rock into glowing gas. "Impossible," muttered Zalketh. "How did they move that fast? Their engines should not be capable of such maneuvers." "Perhaps they were lucky," suggested his weapons officer. "Fire again," Zalketh ordered. Luck does not last forever. The second barrage was more focused. The Corinth ships targeted the areas where the human vessels would have to be if they followed normal physics. But again, the humans moved in ways that seemed to break the laws of space and time. This time, however, they did more than dodge. They fired back. Captain Choi Min-ho of the Olsen's Fury launched the first human attack. His weapons looked primitive compared to the alien plasma cannons, simple projectiles shot from what appeared to be old-fashioned gun barrels. But these bullets moved faster than they should have and hit exactly where they were aimed. The projectiles struck the shield generators of one Corinth cruiser. The aliens laughed at first, thinking their shields would stop anything so primitive. Then alarms began to sound throughout their ship. "Shield Generator 3 is offline," reported a confused alien technician. "The human projectile somehow found the exact weak point in our defense grid." "That is impossible," Zalketh said. "Those weapons are thousands of years behind our technology. They cannot penetrate our defenses." But more human ships were firing now. Each shot seemed to find a different weakness in the alien ships. Not enough to cause serious damage yet, but enough to worry the crews. Commander Nam Ji-hai aboard the Gwangju's Hammer coordinated the human response. Her ship moved through the asteroids like it was dancing, avoiding alien fire while directing her fleet's attacks with perfect timing. "Target their secondary power couplings," she ordered. "Those projectiles should disrupt their energy flow." The human weapons found their targets with surgical precision. Lights began to flicker on the alien ships as their power systems struggled with unexpected damage. From his command ship far away, Admiral Kim Tae-ho watched the battle through his sensors. Everything was going according to plan. The aliens were seeing exactly what he wanted them to see. A human fleet that was better than expected but still clearly outmatched. "Phase 1 complete," he said quietly to his bridge crew. "Begin data collection." This was the real purpose of the battle. Every alien weapon that fired, every defense system that activated, every tactical move the enemy made was being recorded and analyzed by human computers. The fleet was learning everything about Corinth technology, but the learning came at a cost. The alien ships were beginning to coordinate their attacks better. Zalketh had stopped underestimating his opponents and started using real military tactics. The three cruisers formed a triangle pattern and began to box in the human fleet. "Concentrate fire on the largest human vessel," Zalketh commanded. "If we destroy their leader, the rest will panic." The combined firepower of three heavy cruisers focused on the Soul's Pride. Admiral Kim Tae-ho's ship took direct hits from plasma cannons that could melt mountains. The human vessel's shields flared and began to fail. "Admiral," called his damage control officer, "we cannot take much more of this. Hull breaches on deck 7 through 12. Continue evasive maneuvers," Kim Tae-ho replied. "We need more data." But the aliens were pressing their advantage now. A coordinated attack caught the destroyer Daigu's Thunder between two plasma streams. The human ship's hull glowed white-hot for a moment before exploding in a brilliant fireball that lit up the entire asteroid field. The aliens cheered as they watched the destruction. Finally, the humans were dying as expected. More human ships began to take critical damage. The Inchin's blade lost power and began to drift helplessly through space, atmosphere streaming from multiple holes in its hull. The Jeju's Edge had to retreat behind a large asteroid as its weapon systems failed completely. On Nexus Prime, the alien observers nodded with satisfaction. The battle was going as predicted. The humans had fought better than expected, but they were still just primitives playing with toys. "It is almost over," Veltar said to his fellow council members. "Soon we can return to important matters." But some of the older aliens were still watching carefully. They noticed something strange about the way the human ships were fighting. Even as they took damage and appeared to retreat, their movements remained coordinated. Their weapons kept finding weak points in alien defenses even as their own systems failed. "They are learning," whispered the elder from the Mystic Coalition. "Even as they lose, they are studying us." "Learning what?" asked his companion. "How to die more efficiently." The elder did not answer. He was beginning to understand that this battle was not what it appeared to be. The humans were not fighting to win. They were fighting to learn, and that made them more dangerous than any weapon. Back in the asteroid field, more human ships were falling. The Andong's spear took a direct hit to its engine section and began to tumble out of control. The Mokpo's shield tried to help but was caught by alien fire and crippled. Captain Li Jinwu watched his fellow ships fall and felt anger rise in his chest. But he followed his orders and continued the mission. The human fleet was paying a price in blood for the knowledge they were gaining. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we have collected sufficient data on their weapon systems. Should we proceed to Phase 2? Li Jinwu looked at the tactical display showing his damaged fleet facing 3 nearly undamaged alien cruisers. It looked hopeless. That was exactly how it was supposed to look. "Not yet," he said. "Let them think they have won. The best lessons come when the teacher feels confident." The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between star systems. It was neutral ground where different alien races could meet without fear of war. Today was special. For the first time in galactic history, humans were asking to join the Galactic Council. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his ship, the Soul's Pride. Through the window, he could see the alien vessels that surrounded Nexus Prime. Each ship was huge and covered with weapons that could destroy planets. His own fleet looked tiny next to them. Only 12 human ships had come to this meeting. "Admiral, we are getting signals from the alien ships," said Lieutenant Park Min-soo from his station. "They are scanning us." Kim Tae-ho nodded. He expected this. The aliens wanted to know what humans could do. What they would find would not impress them. That was the plan. Inside the great meeting hall of Nexus Prime, hundreds of alien beings sat in circles around a central platform. Some looked like giant insects with too many eyes. Others were made of living metal that changed shape as they moved. A few looked almost like humans but with skin that glowed in the dark. Commander Park So-jin walked onto the platform. She was the human diplomat for this meeting. Her simple black uniform looked plain next to the fancy clothes and armor of the aliens around her. Many of them were already laughing. "Welcome, humans," said Veltar, speaking for the Corinth Empire. He was tall and thin with silver skin that reflected the lights of the hall. "We have heard you wish to join our council. Tell us, what makes you think you belong here?" Park So-jin remained calm even as more laughter filled the hall. "We believe all intelligent species should work together for peace and progress." "Peace and progress," shouted Nixara from the Zephon Confederation. She had 4 arms and red eyes that glowed like fire. "Your species still fights wars on your own planet. You barely have control of your own star system." "And your ships," added another alien voice. "We have scanned them. They use primitive fusion engines. Their weapons shoot simple metal bullets. Their shields are barely stronger than soap bubbles." The laughter grew louder. Some aliens were pointing at the screens that showed the human fleet outside. Compared to the alien superships, the human vessels looked like toys made by children. "Perhaps," said Park So-jin, raising her voice to be heard over the noise, "you would like a demonstration of human capabilities?" This made the aliens laugh even harder. Veltar wiped tears from his silver eyes. "A demonstration? You mean you want to show us how weak you are?" "I propose a simple test," Park So-jin continued. "A small battle between our fleet and one of yours. Nothing too serious. Just enough to show what humans can do." The hall fell quiet for a moment. Then Veltar began to grin. His teeth were sharp like knives. "You want to fight us? Very well. I will send 3 of my heavy cruisers to face your entire fleet. It will be entertaining." Other aliens began talking excitedly. This would be fun to watch. The primitive humans thought they could fight against advanced alien technology. It would be like watching children play with sticks against soldiers with laser guns. "The battle will take place in the Kepler system," announced the council leader, an ancient being that looked like a floating brain in a glass jar. "All ships will be watched by our sensors. No real harm should come to the humans. We do not want to destroy them completely." More laughter filled the hall. Park So-jin bowed politely. "Thank you for this opportunity. I believe you will find it Educational. Back on his ship, Admiral Kim Tae-ho received the message about the coming battle. His officers gathered around him on the bridge. They all looked serious but not worried. "Orders, sir," asked Captain Lee Jin-woo, whose ship the Busan's Resolve would lead the attack formation. "Standard Formation 7, Kim Tae-ho replied. "Remember, this is a demonstration. Show them exactly what they expect to see. And if they push too hard," asked Commander Nam Ji-hai from the Gwangju's Hammer, "then we adapt." As always, Kim Tae-ho looked out at the alien ships surrounding them. They think they know what human technology can do. Let them keep thinking that until the right moment. The human fleet began to move away from Nexus Prime. Their engines glowed with simple blue light, not the rainbow colors of alien drives. Their hulls were gray metal, not the living crystal or shape-changing materials the aliens used. Everything about them looked basic and outdated. On the alien observation ships, scientists and military leaders watched the humans leave. They were already planning how to study the wreckage after the battle. Human technology might be primitive, but it could still teach them something about how lesser species tried to copy their betters. "Look at how they fly," laughed one alien general. "They move in straight lines like rocks thrown through space. Our ships dance through dimensions they cannot even see." "Their weapons," added another, "are the same type their ancestors used thousands of years ago. Metal bullets fired by chemical explosions. How quaint." But a few aliens were not laughing. These were the old ones, the species that had survived many wars and seen many enemies. They watched the human ships with more careful eyes. "There is something strange," whispered an elder from the Mystic Coalition. "They are too calm. Species facing their first galactic battle should be afraid or excited. The humans seem patient." "Patient for what?" asked his younger companion. "That is what worries me." The human fleet reached the Kepler system and took position near a field of asteroids. The rocks floated in space like a three-dimensional maze. It was perfect cover for smaller ships, but dangerous to navigate. Admiral Kim Tae-ho opened a channel to all human vessels. "Remember our mission. We are here to show the galaxy what humanity can do. Not all of it, not yet. Just enough." "Understood, Admiral," came the replies from 11 ship captains. Far away on Nexus Prime, the aliens were placing bets on how quickly the human fleet would be destroyed. Most guessed less than 5 minutes. Some thought the humans might last 10 if they ran away fast enough. Veltar's 3 heavy cruisers jumped into the system with flashes of light that bent space around them. Each ship was twice as long as the biggest human vessel and covered with weapons that hummed with deadly energy. "This will be over soon," Veltar told his captains. "Try not to destroy them too quickly. The other aliens want to see a show." The human ships spread out among the asteroids and waited. Their simple metal hulls reflected the light of the distant star. They looked like ancient relics facing the future itself. Neither side knew that this battle would change everything. The aliens thought they were about to crush primitive rebels. The humans knew they were about to begin a lesson that would reshape the galaxy forever.